1, 2, 3, 4, yeah.
Attention. Amazing. Incredible. New. Experience.
So Schwa, here we are once again.
Yeah.
This has
been a while.
I mean, it's not necessarily a cult following, but
no, this is something entirely on its own.
I think the last time that we did this was for like a Star Wars thing, or was it for
I think
No
it
Man's
was
Sky?
No Man's Sky.
No
Yes.
Man's Sky.
Yeah. So this would probably fall under the banner of a Cinema Fantastico
Yes.
one shot, like a limited series.
Like Beards on Breed,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Beards on Breen. I like that. It's a good one.
Yeah, we just watched Double Down.
Yeah.
For you, it's the first time. For me, I'm a seasoned veteran of the Breeniverse.
Yes. Yeah, God bless America.
I'm an American. I'm an American. I love this country. My country.
I honestly, I wasn't even really that familiar with the Neil Breenverse, as it were. I had seen Fateful Findings mentioned. Kind of in the same words, in the same breath as things like The Room.
Hi.
Can I help you?
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
But that was it. It was
Or
just
clips or anything? Have you seen clips
I'd
of
seen
any of
the
his stuff
poster
other than
for Fateful Findings.
Okay.
So that's what I had seen. And then when you were kind of pushing the screening of Twisted Pair,
Yeah.
I watched the trailer for that. And so that was my only exposure to Neil Breen previous to this. I'm actually I feel really bad for him, in terms, I don't know what the response to his films are. I assume he's certainly got a rabid fan base.
Yes.
But it feels like why is it that I haven't heard of this and yet I've heard of something like The Room,
Right.
Why have I heard of Miami Connection? Amazing, beautiful creature. I mean, I know one of my good friends was in The Room, right? I love The Room, but I'd rather watch this movie any day over The Room.
Wow.
I just feel it was, it's still, it's still its own creature, that's for sure. But I don't know. I just felt that the whole thing was a lot more engaging to me. I found it to be kind of minute by minute more funny and just bizarre.
Right.
So yeah, and again, I don't know any of the history here. I can only guess just looking at it, that this feels like self-funded. Some guy wants to make a movie, funds it himself. And I think as opposed to something like The Room, where it's obvious that, Wiseau had a ton of money. And so the production values are obviously a lot higher in something like The Room, which
Right.
maybe makes it more interesting. But I don't know. I actually think that this is a way more interesting narrative because it's clearly a passion project for this guy who basically went out, in probably his own car, I'm assuming, in the desert, probably got little local actors and people he knew
Right.
in the film. Yeah, that's the impression I get. And so you said, well, he's a realtor?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't want to give too much away
Yeah.
because there's a lot of through thread that goes from here to the next, to the
Really?
next, to the next, to the next, in very subtle ways and
Okay.
some very obvious ways.
Right.
I recognize that.
Right.
I recognize this. And you start stitching everything together.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing, the biggest revelation, and this is why I'm doing this, to start it from Double Down all
Totally.
the way to Twisted Pair, is that through thread is so much more satisfying once you get to that.
I'm honestly
fifth
excited
movie.
about that concept. I mean, and I think that there's something really laudable about that, because it's not where, hey, this person came out with this one movie that this was their one thing, that they had one story to tell.
But it's not like, like a Feige sort of thing where they had like a vision of, or even kind of like a 3 or 5 year plan, or 10 movie plan. I mean, I know I almost guarantee
he didn't sketch it out ahead of time.
I don't think so. I think he has a particular voice that he wants to express.
Right.
And he has definite morals and ethics, and almost kind of like an FBI watch list warning for everybody, but not from him personally, but just like globally.
An FBI watch list, as in like he is on the FBI watch list after they watch this movie.
Right, yeah. I don't know if he can travel outside of Las Vegas unless he's using his own.
I got like, and knowing that this film is from 2005,
right.
It felt like a very post 9/11 film. Is really what it felt like. It felt like this is, in like almost this interesting way. It's like this is his way of coping with 9/11. Like this is like that he, saw the national nightmare that we were going through, and this was his reaction to it.
Sure.
It's like, I have to tell this story about, setting aside violence and terrorism for love.
Well, on top of that, you think of everything that he was talking about, government, banks, money, corruption, that he's a realtor.
Right.
So you think of 2005.
Yeah.
It was a good 2 years before the economy just tanked.
Right.
Where everybody was snapping up properties, or, and buying properties, taking out these big loans before it hit that cap.
Yeah.
And burst that bubble. He's, I don't know if he was filming it in 2004 and it came out in 2005. So it was still, it's more of like kind of a
clearly
response.
Had a long time in the editing process.
Right. But it's, like you said, it's more of that post 9/11, pre real estate bubble burst, but that was like the height.
Right.
The height of like, he was making mad cash, I guarantee it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Any realtor at that time was, because everybody was just throwing loans left and right. Interest rates were almost down to like 0%. I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting perspective as far as like what he chose to, well, even Anthrax was that a thing in 2005?
Oh yeah, sure, definitely.
I'm trying to remember what all that, like, well, we had bird flu, we had, well, that probably bird
flu was like late
but
90s, I believe, wasn't? Or no, you're right. H1N1 was like, it was like mid 2000s. No, Anthrax was definitely a thing. I mean, there was all the anthrax scares of people getting stuff mailed to them.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
And I mean, Anthrax ultimately was, went back way before that even,
Right,
I mean, people knew what anthrax was, but yeah, in terms of attacks. But yeah, it feels like, somebody who doesn't understand any of this stuff trying to reconcile it, and then just kind of doing it through the lens of their limited scope of knowledge.
Sure.
And so, just like kind of throwing all these buzzwords in there because they sound vaguely, like global. But I can't remember what some of those ones were, but it's like
they were glorious titles.
Exactly.
I joined my country's secret strategic support branch of the Defense Intelligence Agency. I controlled access to the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency.
It's like, this is like a film that it's like, because you see that, and you see that a lot now, is like AIs come up with a story based on what they see on the internet.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's a lot like something like this, where it's just throwing these words that kind of have nothing to do with one another in with each other. And I kind of felt the same way with like his view of technology, which is really, I would say the interaction with technology in this film is something really special for sure. But like, the fact that he substitutes like more technology for better technology. So he doesn't really understand like how to make something seem really high tech other than to have somebody holding 3 phones.
Right. Well, you double
laptops.
down on the laptops
Yes.
and the cell phones.
Yes.
And the tuna.
And the tuna. There's so much tuna in this movie. Like I genuinely don't even know where to start. Like, cause I really tried to follow what was happening. I really did. And I just didn't understand. Like sometimes he'd wake up on the ground next to the tire, and sometimes there'd be like his girlfriend was a body moving in the body bag. Sometimes
that was just once. That she
okay, you're right. Yeah, exactly. So just once moving, and then like it was. But
sometimes you'd see the hair outside, and then you just see the skull zipped open.
Yeah, exactly. So what is that? I mean, is that supposed to be a representation of the grief that he can't set aside, or the guilt, maybe?
Fuck if I know. I don't know.
Like I always think it's kind of funny. You go on like Letterboxd for movies like this,
yes,
and you look at their ratings, and it's always a bunch of 1 stars and like a bunch of 5 stars. You know? It's like, because how do you rate something like this?
No, you can't. And that was the struggle that I had with, and I'm just going to say real quick, with Twisted Pair, with the latest one that he did, that we screened last year at the Alamo, is when we did our top 5 for Cult Following, Mandy was my number 1 movie of last year.
Going hunting.
So what you hunting?
Crazy evil.
But Twisted Pair had its own thing. It wasn't even part of the top 5. It just was what it was. It transcended the top 5. It's its own thing.
Well, it seems like his films exist in their own universe.
Yes.
Almost like he seems to exist in his own universe. I mean, I'm curious, like, does he do interviews? Take like somebody like a Tommy Wiseau, like he's like whatever that is, whether it's a character or whether it's him, he's like always that, right? I mean, he's always that, like in interviews. Like Neil Breen, does he do interviews? Is he like just a normal dude?
He has done interviews. He doesn't do them anymore.
Okay.
Mostly because he doesn't understand the culture surrounded by the reaction to his films.
So he's not like necessarily in on the joke.
To a certain extent. One of the things that I heard is there was a live Q&A after one of his screenings. I don't know which film it was. Probably, Fateful Findings when it first came out. It might have been an Alamo thing, or maybe something in San Francisco or LA. And he came out and they were asking him questions, like legitimate questions. Like, what was your intent of showing this image during this time? Is there like a metaphor to this? And he reacted like, well, it is what it is. Yeah. You're seeing this. This is this object, and that's what that is. I don't understand why you don't see it literally.
Right.
Like, he's very literal about stuff.
So it's like, it was literally my girlfriend was in a body bag and I carried her body around with me.
Right.
Right. And then she literally was a ghost.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, makes sense. It's also, David Lynch also does not explain his art.
If you don't enjoy the doing, then do something else.
Right.
Yeah, so I think there's comparisons to be made there. Like I'm fascinated. There's how many films did you say there are? 5. Like, I'm fascinated he's still out there doing it.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's very inspiring too.
I would say so too, because I mean, realistically, I think that it's like kind of amazing whenever you have these people, whether it be an Ed Wood or a Tommy Wiseau, that like these people's passion is so much that they just have their story that they want to tell.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever felt that. I've got a million stories I've wanted to tell and I just didn't do it,
Sure.
Like, and maybe, who knows? Like, maybe they would have been something like Double Down. Who knows? But, like, for the people that actually go out there and do this thing, I do have a lot of respect for it.
Right.
And really, in this way, really, with Double Down, and I don't know how the films go in the future, but, you can see that you can tell he was working with what he had. This wasn't somebody who was independently wealthy and was spending millions of dollars of their own money on this movie that was, whatever that movie is, right? I mean, you could tell he didn't have a lot of money. He was doing what, using his own stuff. I mean, he was doing the acting, mostly, but, he obviously was getting people he knew,
right.
or very low paying gigs of, again, like, here's an ad in a newspaper for, do you want to be in some movie?
Summer stock.
Yeah, exactly. Which I always think is kind of interesting, how, it's like he casts himself as this, like, whatever, the dangerous, sexy.
Oh, he's the number one. He has all the medals.
Yeah, exactly. All the medals.
I've been awarded every medal. The Medal of Honor. The Medal for Meritorious Service. Defense Meritorious Service.
But it's, and it's like you have it's like, I'm almost like when I watch a movie like this, like half of the joy is trying to picture like these other actors. Like the actress is like, okay, well, we're going to be naked in a pool together. And I just like, I don't understand what would be possibly going through their head at the time. But I was really way off base. I thought, just because all I had seen was the trailer for Twisted Pair, so I had the impression.
Well, and all my hype.
Well, sure, yeah.
And I was afraid that I was overhyping this.
Oh,
and I've had
no,
other conversations. I was talking to Sean last night, and I got him super interested, and I almost asked him to come in last minute when Victor said that he couldn't come in because of work, and he's already getting copies like off of eBay because he can't wait.
Yeah,
because Neil, he distributes his movies himself.
Yeah, I could guess. Are these official distributions here?
I have mostly official ones. Some of the other ones are harder to get.
But is this like this one I'm holding
release.
How this Double Down, or is this like a?
From what I know is that Double Down is the hardest one.
Got it.
To get.
Got it.
But I'm not sure because his website, even though he's the greatest hacker in the world
yeah,
his websites are very convoluted as far as ordering the films themselves.
Right.
So those two that you have in your hand or that are right in front of you right there, those are actual ones that I got from Neil Breen.
Got it. And they come like this?
Yes.
So for the listeners, it's just little jewel cases, you know?
Yeah,
like
printed,
the little
printed
thin
DVD
kind that you get when you buy like 100-pack of burnable DVDs.
Yeah, there's no inserts. It's just a printed.
It says, on it. It's so this is the Fateful Findings one.
Yes,
it says Fateful Findings, a Neil Breen film. It's got it's a .biz website,
of course.
www.fatefulfindings.biz.
It might as well be a GeoCities site as far as I know.
Do not copy. It is illegal to copy, download, upload, or use this film for commercial or non-commercial purposes for private use only. Neil Breen Films, LLC. Copyright Neil Breen.
Yes.
2014. I love it. I love it. He just burns these things and sends them out.
It's all him.
No case. Because that's what I was wondering. Because you make these wonderful cases yourself. So yeah, this is something that you created then.
No.
Oh, really?
I think maybe somewhat out of my own haste. I did order the Double Down, and I think it's the I am here now. I am here. ... now off eBay. And I kind of feel bad for that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, with Faithful Findings, you can go to that website. And so here's one of the weird extra inside things about Neil Breen and how to order his films. If you go to that biz site for Fateful Findings, and it says buy now via PayPal, and you fill in the information. What you're supposed to do, if you want one of his other films, you have to put in the notes section, I paid for Fateful Findings, but I'm actually wanting I am here ... now.
Right.
So probably about 3 or 4 weeks later, he'll actually respond and say, okay.
Yeah.
And then you'll get it like 3 or 4 weeks after
Say
that. ...
Okay.
That would be brilliant.
That would be good.
But a lot of his correspondence with other people, I'm on a few groups that express the, when they communicate with him, or if they say, hey, when is Twisted Pair coming out on DVD? Is it going to be on Blu-ray? He does not release anything on Blu-ray. The only Blu-rays that actually come out are just for the screenings. That's what he sends for the screenings. But everything else is on DVD.
Wow.
But he's very terse, just very straightforward, very literal. He doesn't want to engage in conversation necessarily. He doesn't want it to be, like I said, if you say you wanted this copy of this other film, he'll just say, okay.
Right.
He won't say, have a good day or thanks a lot, or even put like, Neil Breen at the bottom of the, of a salutation, or after the, the header and stuff. But I enjoy the fact that I don't know a hell of a lot about him personally.
Yeah,
and
mystery.
Like you said, it just seems like he's just making movies, and he's happy to see that people are enjoying them for what they are.
Yeah, I know, it really is interesting that because if he could really lean into that schlock celebrity of it. Right? Like he could do Q&As and screenings and do that kind of stuff and honestly make money off of it, which is really what a lot of these guys do, right? I mean, they, whether they're intending to do it or they stumble into it, they have this thing that people respond to, and they do the convention circuit and they do the Q&A circuit and they do the screenings and everything. Like they're just trying to make a living. I don't blame him,
Yeah. I don't think he needs to make a living.
Yeah. No, that's
he's already got a living.
That's what's fascinating about it, is that he's just telling, he's living his best life, right? He's like telling the stories that he feels needs to be told, which I just...
In his point of view, there's something going on in that brain.
Yeah, because the impression I had gotten from watching that trailer that I'd seen of Twisted Pair, I'd gotten the impression that he was like some... new agey type, like maybe he is, like maybe I don't know where these films go, but I was expecting something that was very transcendental meditation,
like very Sedona,
right? Very Sedona, right? And that's kind of the impression that I had gotten from that whole thing. I didn't expect him to be playing the world's most dangerous terrorist / super spy, / bioterrorist, / like romantic lead. It's just didn't expect
using that very loosely.
It was that was certainly something, and all like the stock footage and the like music.
Yep.
The like the royalty free music, that which I almost wonder like how he could. I guess back in 2005, 2004. They had to have that stuff, but I can't imagine now. There's just like services, you pay a certain amount and you just have access to all this royalty-free music.
Or you can, even GarageBand, they have all the free music. You can just assemble yourself just with the clips and loops.
Well, we do know that he is a technological genius,
right?
So getting access to that stuff in 2005. May have been difficult for some people, not difficult for Neil Breen, because he's clearly, I mean, the more laptops you have, the more technical. I think you only have one laptop, as far as I see in this room right now. So, I mean, we're not on his level. You do have a desktop computer and a laptop,
right?
So,
Double Down was before smartphones.
It's true.
So I wonder if we're going to see more smartphones in the future ones.
Oh man, that'd be great. Have him hold like a Windows phone, an iPhone, and an Android, like all at the same time.
Or is that too compromising?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that too connected?
Right, it might be.
Do you need burners?
Which is what he has. Although I think they weren't at the time, probably not burners. At the time, those were pretty okay phones,
right?
That were, I'm sure, like broken. There's a lot of that movie that was spent of him walking up or walking down mountains.
Yes.
Hills.
Well, yeah. Walking up and kind of, I don't know, waddling down
Right.
hills
Like
in the desert.
I don't know. My favorite.
I mean, if you got a location, you might as well use it.
Well, he definitely used it. There's no doubt. Like, I think that the actual filming locations would have been a little bit in Vegas.
Right.
And then mostly that desert. And one thing that I actually thought was kind of interesting is that this is actually like one of the only movies where you actually see what Vegas is like really like, you know, because like you always see Vegas as glitzy in the movies, and it's always at nighttime, it's always the fancy stuff, but like in reality, like Vegas is like really kitschy, kind of ugly, especially during the day.
Just people walking around,
being tourists, you know, like those terrible walkways that you have to like go all weird because you can't cross the street.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this movie. Like, this actually gives you like the real impression of what Vegas is
and
really
those,
like.
Yeah, those were the actual like lockdown shots of, you know, you don't need a permit because there's probably 20, 30 people.
Oh yeah.
With, you know, that seem like tourists. Just, you know, filming.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
It doesn't matter. They're used to that. I mean, there's not going to be a cop coming by going, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, no.
It's like, no, I'm on vacation, man.
Right.
I'm in Las Vegas. I'm taking
I'm
some footage.
I'm getting the Bellagio fountain.
Right.
You know, what do you want from me? I'm recording the Pirates.
Because even though in the credits it says, well, thank you to the National Reserve of the Nevada Park of blah, blah, Conservatory, somethings.
Right.
I mean, really? Did you really?
Probably not.
You know?
Probably
It's
just found
kind
a
of
little
a
corner.
thanks.
Yeah.
You know, I went to the visitor center and I bought your very beautiful picture book that I displayed. You know, well, maybe that was part of the deal. They said, well, if you want to film here, you have to display some of our, you know, picture book.
That's a really good point.
I don't know.
That's a really good point.
Because they showed that a lot, along with all the, well, okay, well, and this too. Maybe at the same time they had all that, all the video, like travel video stuff.
Oh.
And they said, well, you know, if you feature, you know, all these vistas and all the mountain stuff, all the helicopter shots.
At the time, they didn't know what the movie was, so it's like, oh, this will be, somebody's making a movie. It's like another, it's like visit us.
Because didn't I say that early on?
Yeah.
I said, I want to go to Las Vegas.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then they see this movie and like, oh.
Right.
Oh, that's what it is.
Oh, I don't even think they saw the movie. Are you kidding me? They probably didn't even know if it ever got finished or made.
Sent them like a burned DVD of it.
I don't know.
Back in 2005, like, it would still be DVD. It would be, I'm sure, burned to DVDs just like this.
Well, it's shot on film, which is great. Which is
crazy to me, like, that he shot that movie on film. Because that's not cheap.
No, and you wouldn't necessarily have to at that time. I mean, you know, the video cameras were kind of sort of decent. You know,
I mean, was it shot on mini DV, I wonder? Like, I mean, was it like seriously like a camcorder? Like, it's hard to tell because it was the quality, it's not like a Blu-ray, right? So we can't actually see what the source quality was really like in that.
Well, no, it's film.
Yeah, no, I believe it, but I mean, it doesn't look like film. Like, but I want to know what stock of film. You know, I mean, it's not 35 millimeter.
Oh,
I'll tell you that.
16.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't look grainy enough to be 16.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But if it's a 35 millimeter, that's an incredibly expensive shoot.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't do that on the Vegas Strip either. That would raise some eyebrows.
Yeah.
That's a huge camera.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering why it said like Fuji stock.
Well, I don't know.
Unless it was transferred to film?
Right, that's possible. Yeah, where is this ever screened? Like, that's another thing I want to know. Because you did the one screening of Twisted Pair.
Yes.
But where did this movie screen at?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I know Faithful Findings, that was kind of the big one that broke through.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's the one I'd heard of.
Different circuits, and that and Alamo has played that before in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Double Down was at that time? Probably nothing. Probably just nothing.
So I'm curious to hear about your introduction to the Breeniverse.
Through Red Letter Media and Max Landis. Is it Max Landis?
Uh-huh.
They did a segment where they did Double Down.
Okay.
And Max introduced them to it, and they do a video podcast, and they got a lot of followers, and I got really sucked into their podcast, and I love their dynamic. A bunch of guys up in Wisconsin, and I was curious by it, and I was curious as to why they were so enamored by it, because it didn't seem like something, because they just show kind of clips.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of rapid fire. They kind of discuss stuff. They laugh a lot. They find a lot of things funny that aren't necessarily what I would find funny.
Sure.
They kind of exasperate it a little bit more. But I don't even know. I didn't even watch Double Down right away after that. But it was always in kind of the back of my mind. Because there was something of what they showed and how they described it that resonated with me a little bit, or made me curious enough to want to explore more. From there, I don't know. I think it was some worm that got in the back of my brain, and I'm kind of scared at the same time, too, of exposing other people to it.
Yeah. Oh, it's it.
Hi.
So are you saying that this is like The Ring or something?
I think it's almost like the second coming in some way, especially as you go on with the next films.
Yeah.
There's something going on. Yeah, and it's partially The Ring. It's partially not necessarily the Antichrist, but I don't know. I think he's a Messiah.
Right. Well, I mean,
he's touching the hearts of like he's touching something of everybody in some way.
He's awkwardly touching the shoulders of people everywhere.
Yes.
That he's going to heal with his pyrite.
Right.
I'm incredibly intrigued as to where this is going to go. Like, is it going to be like more? That's the thing. And I mean, I'm excited that I'm going to get to experience this over the course of the next, month or so. But is it going to be like more spy thriller espionage stuff? Like, is it going to be, because it definitely looks like, and again, I almost wish I never saw the trailer for Twisted Pair, frankly. Sure. Like, I wish I could just go in completely clean. And because, I mean, it definitely looks like the special effects budget has definitely gotten increased with Twisted Pair. I'm going to tell you that right now. And, that technology has come a long way. Now it's not just stock photos, but stock explosions that you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, the step aside Weta, because it definitely looks like something for sure. But yeah, I mean, I am really just genuinely interested where this is going to go.
But it hasn't been spoiled. Really, just seeing the trailer for Twisted Pair.
Yeah, no, I would hope not. Yeah.
I mean, you're still walking into this a virgin, and there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. I think my favorite moment in Double Down was definitely like the part where he's like, I love this country. I love this country.
Yes. I'm an American.
I'm an American. I love this country. That was pretty good. For
impassioned, laying on the dirt, just pounding the dirt.
Yeah, exactly. Just pounding the dirt so much.
I mean, a few times you think of, Con!
Yeah, totally.
Or damn you! Damn you all to hell! You destroyed it all!
Revenge of the Sith.
And I love this country! My country!
Or like the part in the pool, like after his fiance, his
Breen ball.
Yeah. So who?
Breen ball.
Breen ball.
Breen balls.
Oh, Breen balls. I get it. That's good. Yeah, exactly. And he's like holding the flower, which is covered in blood.
I don't know what. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's I think also I think with this one definitely like, I think there's a lot of comparisons to be made to The Room. I don't think that that's a an unfair comparison, being as how this is like, you know, written and directed and, you know, financed by one person starring.
Well, catered is the most important one.
Sure.
Other than
catered.
No hair and makeup at all.
Exactly. No lighting.
Right.
Right.
Well, just natural lighting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like lighting. None. So is there a way? So do you basically have to email Neil Breen for a DVD? Is that the way to get a hold of this movie?
He has 2 web pages that you can go to order 2 of the movies, but when you go to buy it now,
right,
you have to put in the notes section in the PayPal buy it now section that you actually want a different movie.
Boy.
And then he'll confirm it and then
I mean, I would certainly hope that if anyone's listening to this that they've seen the movie by now, because we don't want to spoil everything for them, you know? Like, I would hope that they've seen it and they're seeking this out because they want hard-hitting commentary about it. So I was just, you know, making sure the people have easy access to Double Down, which also I just get is a you know, like a gambling reference because it's Las Vegas.
Oh, well, sure.
Get it?
Yeah, because the original poster, it has it's just the big picture of his face, but then underneath it has I think like gambling chips and things.
Yeah,
because
okay.
you know, it's
Makes sense.
Vegas
Sure.
Central.
Vegas,
so.
yeah, glitz. Danger.
But you also have to
Sexiness.
think. Well, I mean, of course, I'll give a disclaimer at the beginning of this too. I'll probably interject some stuff that you know, says this is pretty much a spoiler cast. But the there's a lot of dialogue that's repeated, like within the dialogue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenes that are also doubled down.
Right.
It just seems to repeat a lot of things over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and then does kind of a circular thing where it brings everything back again to where I even made the comment, and I've seen this movie so many times, but there's always something else that I recognize every
Right.
time I
You're
watch
always
it,
unlocking the mysteries.
based on the different environments that I'm in as I'm watching it. Was this whole thing just kind of a fever dream? And then I made the comment of, did this inspire Mandy?
Going hunting.
So what you hunting?
It's crazy evil.
Same time, because
Right.
they're, you know, in the car together with
Right.
you know, his ex-fiance who's dead. You know, he's kind of come to acceptance about, you know, what he's done in order, because he was thrust into this situation. Is the way that I look at it. He never wanted to be a bioterrorist. He never wanted to be like the greatest hacker in the world. He has all these medals,
Right.
but his fiancée was murdered in the pool, and he doesn't really know why.
Right.
So what is he going to do? He's going to go after the corruption. He's going to go after the government.
Right.
He's
Right.
going to go after the banks. He's going to go after everybody.
Does he ever get the people that killed his fiancée?
That's the ultimate question.
Yeah.
But does that
the
actually
ultimate question?
does that actually matter? Because
Right.
the outcome is that he came to his freedom based on letting other things go and his pyrite.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, okay, so we're to literally take this, if I'm to understand.
And Neil is literate.
He's literal and
very,
literate.
very, yeah.
And so we are to assume that there was an old man who was just happened to be hanging out in the desert.
Which might have been him.
Oh, okay.
He had the same boots.
Oh, see, okay, so there are mysteries to unlock here. So he had his little boy version of himself,
Yep.
and he had this old man version of himself.
That's what I'm thinking. Because I
Okay.
just noticed it this time that we were watching.
Yeah.
I usually watch it just on like the smaller screen. When we
Right.
watch it on the bigger one, I noticed the old man was wearing, well, he had a white shirt, and then he had the blue jeans.
Yeah.
And then he had those cowboy boots that they kept motifing throughout the whole film.
Yeah, okay. Got it. 'Cause like he Okay, so he was the one who was creating the terrorist attacks, but then also at the end stopped them or stopped one of them.
So saying double down, was he also a double agent? Because why would you create the terrorism and then try to stop it at the same time?
Right.
So he says he's a spy, but is that like in his own brain? Are those other people that has he been communicating with?
Yeah.
Or thinking, or who he's supposed to assassinate? Talking to the little girl, it's like, oh, it's not that exciting. There's not much that, it's not like the movie type Hollywood sort of stuff.
I'm wondering, I mean...
I live out of my car.
Did any of this actually happen?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right. Like, so when you're saying fever dream...
Right.
Like, is it possible that he's just a dude out in the desert with a bunch of broken laptops?
He lives in his car eating tuna.
Right. He's like taking the body of his girlfriend, who even knows if she was shot.
Right.
We don't even know any of that stuff. Right. Because that's definitely what it looks like. It looks like a guy living out in the desert eating tuna out of a can with a bunch of broken laptops.
And what happens when it's hot out? You have just a bunch of tuna cans eaten out of it. It's like eating rotten bread back in the days of Christ, and people thinking everybody was the Messiah is because they were eating moldy bread and they were hallucinating.
Yeah, well, sacrilegious. So he's eating bad tuna.
Right.
And he's going on a vision quest, which involves...
Well, I thought that too, because of the desert and all that, running up and down and, staring into the sun and yelling out to people.
I think that is how they
Sedona. There, now you just brought it back to where it is kind of Sedona.
I think that's how they make mescaline is rotted tuna.
And then the rocks that are, the kind of the mystical healer rocks and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was kind of your idea of what you maybe thought it was.
Okay, yeah.
But just not so on, on point.
Right.
Not so hippie-ish, I suppose.
Yet. We'll see. Right. We'll see how hippie-ish it gets later. That's for sure. I'm fascinated. I'm also fascinated that this one just missed my radar for that long of a time.
Yeah, no, same.
And that this doesn't seem to be, and I will say this, you can ask questions about the room, was the room intentionally bad, whatever. I kind of think it wasn't, but
same.
I definitely think that it's not with Neil Breen. I think there's not even a question. I think that you can see that this is him doing his best, and he wants to create the thing he wants to create, and he wants to put it out there in the world, and obviously probably not making a ton of money on it, they're not making movies, with James Franco starring as Neil Breen.
Right.
So he's not monetized this in a way that makes it almost more pure, and kind of weirdly punk rock.
He's not branding it.
Yeah.
He's not exploiting it.
Yeah, is there a merch? Is there a shop?
No.
Right.
Other than, a Tea Fury sort of thing, or a Teespring, or, one of those, or Cafe Press, where people are doing stuff on their own. I've seen some, custom shirts. But he's putting out his vision.
Yeah.
He's just doing his thing.
It's
and I
pure.
love it.
I definitely got to say it's something else. I mean, one movie in, 20% into the oeuvre, and and it definitely I'm fascinated.
Cool.
For sure.
Next week is I Am Here.
Dot.
Dot.
Sorry. I went to dots too fast.
Now. Which will be a completely different thing.
We'll have to rank them at the end, if it's even possible to do such a thing.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yes.
I really hope that these all kind of tie together into something truly remarkable by the end.
You're gonna get it.
Yeah, I hope so. It's one of my favorite things, to be honest with you. Things like Hamlet 2, Hamlet, and it's this terrible play, and then it ends up being really poignant about like, but do we have to have everything be a tragedy? You know, like, and at first it's like, yeah, but does he have to die at the end of Hamlet? You know, and it's like, that's actually like turns into something like really remarkable and special and intelligent and moving. I hope nothing more than that happens, you know, with this, that it's like that you start to see the bigger picture as it goes on. But, you know, regardless, again, I say, you know, like since the beginning, God bless America, right? I mean, I think that it's, you know, that you can have somebody that they can live their truth in the way that Neil Breen seems to have done,
right?
And can find an audience, and I think it's like really interesting how there's, you know, the culture of the kind of people that eat this kind of stuff up. And I definitely consider myself to be one of them. I mean, you know, like regularly attend VHS Vortex and, you know, things like that, because like, you know, like good bad is definitely a thing, but it's like, I find the laughing at it to be not generally mean-spirited when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? I mean, sure, you're laughing at how bad it is, but you also love it, you know? And I'll tell you, I mean, I will happily watch something like this. I mean, I'll tell you this, man, like I watched that documentary about Orson Welles, They'll Love Me When I'm Dead, that was all about that, The Other Side of the Wind, which was this film that almost like his Neil Breen film, right? It was, but this is Orson Welles, right? And with all of the power that Orson Welles has, and all of these actors, and he, you know, he has this grand idea for this film and a film within a film, and it's this huge, massive idea that he's doing like later on in his life. Like it's kind of filled with all these heady ideas, and he doesn't end up getting it finished, right? And then he, you know, he passes away before it can be finished, and they piece it together,
right?
Like I watched that movie, man, like, and sure, it's Orson Welles and, you know, everything, but man, it's like unwatchable. Like it's unwatchable. And I didn't feel that way about Double Down. And there's something to that, right? There's something to the fact that sometimes things are truly so bad they're good, and I definitely feel some things are just so bad they're bad, and it's like, dude, this is just, you know, like Roller Gator, give me the highlights of Roller Gator,
sure,
or give me an MST3K riff tracks version of Roller Gator.
Yep.
But if you sit me down to just watch Roller Gator, like there's gonna be a vast majority of that film and be like, oh god, this is just please come on.
Roller Gator, because we didn't think we could get you to watch Fun in Balloon Land either.
You can leave now and rub suntan lotion on your fanny.
I'll give you $5 if I can watch.
People to see.
Okay. This promises to be every bit as exciting as the LA River Chase in Terminator 2. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean the Gopher Chase in Caddyshack 2.
Impersonations. What? Impersonations.
I'll start. I do a great Uncle Remus.
Oh,
please,
please.
don't.
You don't have
okay.
to do that.
Well, look, I'll do the best I can. I mean, I can't raise a mission anymore.
Joe Estevez, like someone dunked an overinflated Martin Sheen sex doll in a glycerin trough.
Jolly good. Yes, good show. Jolly good. Yes, jolly good. That's good show. Yes, jolly good.
Actually, that was a pretty good Madonna.
Mama said knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out.
Would you like a cigar?
No, thanks. I quit.
What every single person involved with this film should have said when it was offered.
It's time for This isn't so bad.
Oh, I vehemently disagree.
Gator with a carnival named after.
I genuinely didn't feel that way with Double Down. I felt that the filmmaking on display was interesting enough to keep my attention.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you can't deny Neil Breen is a very magnetic character. I mean, he's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, certainly I wouldn't call him a good actor, but he definitely has something.
Yeah.
You know, he has something very interesting to him. You know, he gives you that feeling like, oh, I've met that guy before. You know, I know that guy.
Well, and when you have something like Roller Gator, you pretty much know how everything is going to play out.
Yeah, exactly.
With
and
Double
they know
Down,
what
you
they're
didn't really
doing with Roller Gator too.
Right.
You know, they're not trying to make something serious, and that's really what makes all the difference. I think is that when you have something that is truly I'm doing my best here, and it's just,
Right.
and it turns out to be this remarkable, hilarious, kind of disaster or something like that. That's a way more interesting film.
Because when I watch something like the Transformers, I've seen the first one, and that's the only one I really had to see.
Really? You saw only the first one, and you have this opinion?
Yes.
The first one looks like freaking, speaking of Orson Welles, Citizen Kane compared. Like,
well, this makes my point.
Oh my God.
Is because when I know what to expect, and I'm waiting for those beats. So just sitting and watching a movie and waiting for those beats of like, okay, now when is this going to happen? When is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Just makes the movie just less enjoyable because it's predictable.
Absolutely.
These things, you have no idea where the fuck it's going to go next.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another compelling point. On top of some of it is innocent filmmaking at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as ignorant as maybe some people think in the ironic sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point of saying of laughing at certain aspects of it, it's more of a surprise laughter than it is of this is just the most incompetent thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So then you think to yourself, what is this whole thing with tuna cans? Is this to make his amusement?
Right.
Or is this a metaphor for something else? There's something of a disconnect with all his films where you don't know where he is going from, where he's crossing the line.
Mm-hmm.
As far as a scene goes or a delivery of dialogue or a character's intent and resolution that is so satisfying. Even the more times that I watch this film, it's still hard for me to unpack everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Even after all five, and I mean, we should probably be saving for this conversation for the very, last film for Twisted Pair. But it's just such a fun journey, and you are thirsty for more.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Even for the whole 5 that I've seen so far,
I'm thirsty for
that
more.
he's made, is you just want to keep going. And I'm happy that you are happy with Double Down, because I feel like I have been hyping this up.
Oh yeah,
forever and ever and ever, and. Not that I've heard from other people that are just like, I don't think anything of Neil Breen.
Mm-hmm.
Even with my wife, Anne, I took her to Twisted Pair. She knew nothing about Neil Breen except for my kind of like, you just got to go. You got to go for the experience. This is the thing that I pulled for. This the reason why we're playing this movie is because of me.
Right.
Nobody else believed that this would even sell tickets, and it almost sold out in 160 seat theater at Alamo. Everybody came out to see it.
Right.
Maybe shy of like 15, 20 seats. So I was absolutely thrilled. It was the first time that Anne got to see something like that. And it was this experience that got this enormous reaction from everybody that was there.
I'm sure.
During
seeing movies like that with an audience.
Yeah. It's not like Rocky Horror or something. It's something that is a shared experience. It's almost like going to an Assemblies of God or evangelical, it reminds me of kind of like the Blues Brothers when they go into the church and James Brown is at the altar and he and they start singing and he's preaching, and then all of a sudden Jake just all of a sudden he's like, I see the light, I see it, and then they're like everybody, like the whole congregation is involved and dancing and flipping and going around. And then you kind of lose yourself in the experience of this whole experience around you.
Holy moment.
Yes. So that's why I think Neil Breen is the second coming, or some sort of Messiah message that we just don't understand yet, and he's far ahead. Like it'll look back and it's like that's what he was saying.
Right. Well, I mean,
like a Nostradamus, even at like the very surface level of something I don't know.
We'll see. I mean,
I know I just put a lot on your shoulder. You're not going to be able to sleep tonight.
It's okay. I think I'll be okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say that. Do you
that was a lot.
Does he say that at all? Like, does he say it's all there? Every answer you need is there. It's all there.
Yeah, it's there.
It's
what you're watching is what you're watching, and that's exactly what it is.
Right. It's possible, man. So you're saying like there's going to be like a future, like a Bill and Ted future, but it's like all Neil Breen, and that this is the beginning.
I would love that.
Yeah. We're gonna have like people having lunch, and they're gonna with axes come tapping on the window. Do you watch Neil Breen?
Do you know Sutter Kane?
Because that's what it feels like.
Did you read Sutter Kane?
Because it feels like you're talking about Sutter Kane.
Sutter Kane.
That's what I said. It's very scary for me to be so enthusiastic about Neil Breen and bring it upon other people because I am spreading the infection.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible that you are.
And considering that growing up, one of the movies that I absolutely revere is The Stuff.
When I was a little girl, I didn't think there was anything that I liked better than ice cream. Now I'm a big girl, and I've decided there's something I like better. Much better. It's called The Stuff. And believe me, enough. Never enough.
A lot of it has to do with going against the popular opinion and what people are pushing on you. So it's hard for me to go with authority or say you have to try this, you have to do this. I'm like, you have to watch this. I'm usually someone who's very trepidant about following those trends.
Right.
So if somebody says, "Oh, you have to see The Ritual because it is actually a really good movie." Well, you say that, I'll write it down, but it might take me 5 years before I see it because I want to forget that you told me that it was a good movie.
Oh, right.
And so I kind of want to rediscover it and hit the reset button.
Not have those expectations.
Right.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's reasonable. I prefer it when I have zero expectations over a film. It almost always.
But there's something, like you said, there's something about Neil Breen.
There is something about Neil Breen. Yeah, absolutely. I would say that, in my opinion, with only having seen one film, that something is,
something's happening.
Like it's
bubbling.
I just feel like it's like a filmmaker who watched a lot of episodes of 24 and then wanted to tell a story that they felt was personal.
Sure.
And that's kind of, because it was a lot of that. I like what year was like Enemy of the State? That had to have been around the same time.
Yeah, I think that was around the same time.
There was that whole kind of just like techno babble, satellites in the sky, fast panning. There's bioterrorism. Swordfish is in there with it. Kind of like post Matrix, post 9/11. 24. Hysteria, Jason Bourne, all that kind of stuff. And it feels like Neil Breen was getting caught up in all of that kind of stuff. And it's like, I want to make a movie where I'm a secret agent, but I want it to be, and that's like, I will say, again, I hope it goes places. Like actually something that kind of reminded me of was the Martin McDonagh Seven Psychopaths. Which also takes place largely in a desert, you know, and it's about a screenwriter who's writing a film called Seven Psychopaths and a movie called Seven Psychopaths, and he's trying to figure out how to write this story, and then, you know, like basically it's about like all these people that are like killing each other, and it's obviously murder psychopaths, and then they're at one point riding out to the desert, and there's been all this violence, and he goes, you know, I just want to write a movie where halfway through they all go to the desert and they don't have any more violence, and they just set down violence. And then the movie becomes that. The movie becomes them going out into the desert, and at that point they don't do any more violence. And so it's like Martin McDonagh making the statement about setting aside violence and using his film that is a violent film to use that to set aside violence. Right. And so it's like, you know, with Neil Breen, it's like, if that's the idea, is I'm destroying these laptops, which are you know, this nebulous, you know, even if I don't believe, and I do believe that it comes from at least what I've seen so far, probably a point of, I don't know if I would call it ignorance, but I'd say like non-education about stuff. Sure. Like I would imagine that, you know, I've got a friend who used to work in military intelligence, and I'm sure he would get a kick out of a movie like this, you know. Yeah. And so I don't necessarily think that he knows what he's talking about, but that doesn't change the fact that his feelings may be genuine on it. You know, his feelings about reconciling terrorism and, you know, frankly, you know, what this world, what America is doing to people. And if he continues on that, right? I mean, if his films are consistently, for whatever they are, quote unquote, about something, it's going to be really interesting to watch that especially somebody who's a real estate agent, to see the films that he makes around circa 2008, 2009. Yeah. You know, like what kind of guilt is he going to be reconciling with at that point? You know, if that's indeed it, if this is a way for him to cinematically exorcise his demons, and we're all along for the ride. Right. You know, I am very interested to see where that goes. For sure. You know, like ultimately, haven't seen the second comingness of it as much as maybe the second coming of an Edward D. Wood Jr., you know, but I am very interested to see it'll develop when I am here next week. Right. Well, we're going to wrap it up then. All right. I think we said everything we had to so far about Double Down, until we do one big retrospective for the first 5 films. Yeah. Over the next 5 weeks. The Breenverse. Yeah. That's better than the Wannerverse. What is the Waterverse? The Wannerverse. That's those James Wan movies, like The Conjuring and Annabelle and The Nun, and they're all from like the James. I agree. Well, that's just playing with like sequels and prequels and pre-prequels and sidequels and the Breenverse is way more intriguing. It's kind of like Good Times and the Jeffersons and different spin-offs. Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, these are not. Well, I don't know. I'm really interested to see if any of these characters come back. That's what I'm super fascinated by. You know, like, are we going to see the return of? I can't remember what his name was in Double Down. I wish I remember what his name was, but you know, we're going to see the return of him. Oh, Aaron, the lead character. Yeah. That's what I'm fascinated to know. It's like, are these all 5 separate stories? Are they interconnected by plot or just by, you know, reusing plot elements, or crossing fingers stock footage? Like, I really hope we see some of those exact same shots again. And that's why it's good, because I don't have anybody to bounce this stuff off of. So this is why that when you showed even just a spark of enthusiasm to check it out, that I'm glad that you're on board, because you always have good perspectives on this stuff. So all right. Well, listener, if I disappear and transcend into, if I transcend, like into an eagle, right? Exactly. If I turn into an eagle, or if you just like hear that I'm out in the desert, you know, in my car eating lots of tuna, then maybe come find me, or maybe don't, because who knows what kind of death force field I have around me. Right.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Snare skit. Whatever.